Hello, my name's Dylan,
And I'm Kiyan.
and this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we try pilot the Earth.
And succeed by blowing everything up.
No,
No?
we failed.
Oh, we failed. I guess that's why we're still here.
Yeah, nobody even knew about the attempt because we failed so badly.
Yeah. I guess we decided that we just go back to podcasts if we failed, and we did.
Which is why we're here.
And why you're still here too.
All 8 of you.
Yes.
Unless it's gone up since the last time I checked.
Hopefully it has.
Well,
Shrug.
start with the summary. The Dalek Invasion of Earth. Dun
Yes.
dun dun
The
dun.
Daleks invade Earth, unsurprisingly.
No, actually, surprisingly. I
Well-
mean, considering the Doctor killed them all off. Well, the Doctor and his companions killed them all off.
Well, that was in the
In
future.
the serial they were introduced.
That was in the future.
That was just a lame excuse to bring them back.
Yeah, basically. But I mean, unsurprisingly, considering the title of the serial,
Oh,
but actually pretty
that's-
surprisingly. But yeah,
Right, so the TARDIS... Well, it begins with the scene from last episode with the Doctor going, oh yeah, we need to fix that scanner thing. Should fix that.
but they wind up in 2164 or later, I guess.
The dating of the story is dubious, according to the wiki.
Yeah. So they arrive in London. They're finally back in London.
Well, no, actually, it's the Robo Man who just jumps jumps in the river and dies.
Yeah, we don't know who he is first because he's just like this weird dude.
But that was the first of 19 deaths
Yes,
to occur in this serial.
19 deaths, the most so far by far. But the Doctor and everyone is just looking around, trying to find out where they are because they think they're back in London in 63 or 4.
Yeah,
Whatever.
1960.
Yeah, not 2163.
1960.
But no one's around, and everything looks really desolate and just destroyed. And the Doctor and Ian find the... Was it the Doctor and Ian? I think it was the Doctor and Ian. They find a calendar dated 2164.
Yeah, when they go to the warehouse.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to find out what happened, so they go to the warehouse.
Yeah. So that's how we know it's at least 2164.
I mean, Susan injures her ankle, which is why she didn't go with the Doctor and Ian. Barbara stayed behind with Susan.
Yes.
And these guys show up, and they're like, whoa, do you want to get killed? And they're like, no. So Barbara and Susan go off with these people, and while the Doctor and Ian are in the warehouse, there's like this guy in the background who's sneaking around.
And so Susan and Barbara end up... Well, the Daleks have invaded Earth, and there's this resistance movement. So Susan and Barbara have ended up with them. Resistance / refugee movement, I guess. But, not refugee movement. That would be kind of weird. But...
Underground Railroad.
But they have, this master plan to, bomb the Daleks.
Yeah.
And, well, we'll get into that later when it happens. It fails. But,
So the Doctor and Ian come back to the... Do they get split up at this point, don't they?
yeah. They've already been split.
No, actually, no, the Doctor and Ian both get captured by the Daleks. They split up afterwards.
Yeah, no, they split up with Barbara and...
So, no, well, the Doctor and Ian come back to the TARDIS, and they don't know where Susan and Barbara are, so they're like, let's just wait for them. And the Robo Men show up, and one of the refugee party was told by Barbara that they had friends there.
Yeah.
So he's gone back to try to rescue them, but he's too late. He sees the Robo Men there.
And he's
And
like,
then-
oh, shoot.
And then it pans to the river, and you just see this Dalek come out of the river. And you're like,
Aquatic
oh,
Dalek.
Shoot. It's the Daleks. And that's
Now-
how the first episode ends.
And now might be a good time to bring up that I didn't know anyone's name in this serial. Like, the resistance movement people, like, I knew some of their names, like Tyler and,
Tyler,
Dortman.
David, and Dortman.
Yeah. Other than that,
I don't think
They
any of them got named.
well, Jenny.
Oh, yeah, Jenny.
Okay, I guess
That's the third Jenny I know in Doctor Who.
I guess I actually did know their names then.
Jenny, popular
Jenny.
name.
Jenny. And the Doctor's whole naming scheme thing in the last episode. Okay, we'll get there. But that at the start of the second episode, there are some deaths.
Oh, well, no, they don't assault the compound yet.
Oh,
We're
I
about to
spelled-
leave out the best scene. X equals gamma equals...
That, yeah. So so Ian and the Doctor get put on this saucer that the Daleks are using to get around, I guess, / transport stuff.
Right. And they see this, like, magnetically powered thing, which I guess the Doctor's like, well, maybe if a Dalek gets stuck in here, this is how they would get out.
They meet,
This guy. He had
Was-
a name, but I don't think it was important. Was that Larry?
yeah, I think that was Larry.
Was it?
Yeah, because he was talking about his brother in the cell.
Oh, yeah. Might have been Larry, then.
Yeah, so that was Larry, and the Daleks have this whole mining facility where they enslave people to just mine, and
And you find out why later.
yeah, and Larry,
By later, I mean, like, 2 episodes from the end.
Larry, the guy that the Doctor and Ian meet in the cell, is like, my brother was taken by the Daleks, and now he's a Robo-Man. And
Yeah, the Daleks are, like, controlling these men with these weird electronic helmets, and the people are just calling them Robo-Men. And apparently, if you wear the helmet for too long, then they eventually just go insane, which explains the guy who jumps in the river at the beginning, because he's just gone insane. So they're in the cell, and the Doctor sees this magnetic thing, and he has Ian get this, like, metal bar or something, and they're gonna try to get this key out. And the Doctor says, "Great science, mumbo jumbo. X equals gamma, that equals 2%.
which means the angle is 80 degrees.
Okay, sure.
So
Like
they get out.
Yeah, they get the key
The
out. and
Daleks
escape.
put the opening mechanism inside the cell.
And they get out, and within 3 seconds, the Daleks show up, and they get put back in. And the Doctor gets taken to be Robo-fied. That's the end of the second
Because-
episode.
Yeah, they want to robify the Doctor because he supposedly has a great mind.
He's more intelligent than any human they've ever met.
Probably because he got out of the cell. Which
Or he's not from Earth.
So,
I mean, that's the thing, too.
yeah. It's basically their fault for putting the opening mechanism inside the cell. Like, I mean,
that was a good idea.
I mean, even though it would be pretty hard to figure out, why? Why? But,
So,
at that point, Barbara is, like, elaborating on this plan that the resistance movement has to bomb the saucer.
with these tiny handheld grenade-like things that Dortmund has designed to break through the Daleks' casing.
Yeah, Dortmund
And
is...
they were just going to do a straight-out attack, but Barbara suggests disguising as Robo-Man, which is
Yeah.
a good plan.
Yeah. Still fails miserably, though, but... yeah. Dortmund is, I guess he's like a scientist.
Yeah.
He's in a wheelchair because the Daleks paralyzed his legs.
Which harkens back to Ian.
Yeah.
and the Daleks.
So, the resistance movement arrives just as the Doctor is about to get robified, and they storm in and throw the bombs, which ends up killing almost everyone but the Daleks. It kills men, regular men, robo-men, but not the Daleks.
How many people did we count died? We were having a hard time following it.
Yeah, this, I think, is the first instance where our death count might be wrong.
Oh well.
Yeah,
It's
oh well.
probably been wrong before, but oh well.
No, I don't think it's been wrong before, although I do think it is now, but we'll just go with it. So I think
We said
Between-
like 8 or so people died?
9, we're up to 49. Well, yeah, 8 in this
Instance.
instance.
Because the
but
road ran at the beginning.
yeah, it's up to 49 now, all in one montage of people dying. So, after that, they,
So now we're into episode 3.
yeah,
And someone rescues the Doctor, right?
yeah. I think
Oh,
after
yeah, I think
everything.
it was David. Was it David? No, well, maybe the Doctor just walks out. Some guy comes in, like, kills a Roboman or something, or knocks him out, and the Doctor escapes somehow.
Yeah, it was probably David, because then they end up together.
Yeah. So,
And
like, Susan and Barbara end up getting split up somehow in the mass confusion that was that montage.
yeah.
And Susan ends up with David and the Doctor now.
Uh-huh.
And Barbara ends up with Dortmund and Jenny. And Ian just is stuck on the saucer still. He can't
With-
get out before they take off.
Yeah, with Phil.
Yeah, he meets Phil after he's hiding, though. They're hiding, and then... So Ian, like, hides under this floor panel. And,
Then there's that whole chase thingy.
Oh, yeah.
So Jenny, Dortmund, and Barbara need to go back to their encampment or base or whatever. Or they just do.
They go back to the base.
Yeah.
To try regroup, I guess.
But they do so in the most ridiculous
No,
way.
that's after they're at the base. That's how they get to the next base.
Oh,
They go to the base and everyone's dead. They're like talking to some guy and he's like, yeah, everyone's dead. We lost everyone. And Dortmund's like, oh, we'll regroup at this other location. And this other guy's like, no, I'm going on my own. So he leaves. And I think that was
Tyler,
right? Yeah, Tyler. Yeah. So he leaves. And then, so now it's the scene that you can describe.
So Dortmund's in a wheelchair, right? And so they need to get to the other base by running through the streets of London. So they're running at like Mach speed, pushing this guy. Barbara's pushing him, I guess, and Jenny's running alongside. And meanwhile, there's this drum solo. I guess it's like bongo drums or something. But it's like 3 minutes long, and it's just one track of intense drumming while Barbara pushes Dortmund through London. It's great.
Bizarre scene. This serial was full of just bizarre scenes. X equals gamma. Drum solo running through London.
Destroy the core to pilot the plane. Spoilers. Anyway, they get to the next base, and Dortmund wants to entrust Barbara with his notes,
Yeah.
and because he's gonna sacrifice himself, which they don't
At this
know.
point, it's probably easier for us just to explain how all of them end up at the mine instead of skipping around like the show did.
Okay, yeah.
Just
So
straight through.
all right,
So we'll just continue with Barbara now, and then we'll skip back to Ian, and then we'll
Yeah.
skip to the Doctor.
yeah. The show did it in a kind of convoluted way,
Yeah,
I
there
guess.
was a lot of cutting.
Yeah, at really awkward places too, in some instances. But Dortmund at this point, because the Daleks are right outside, I guess,
Yeah.
and Dortmund is just like, take my notes, Barbara, and get
Yeah,
out
give
of here.
them to the Doctor, because he sounds like a smart man.
Yeah. So Dortmund dies. He sacrifices himself just to give Jenny and Barbara more time.
Yeah, he was number 50.
50. And Jenny gets really distraught over that.
Yeah, I guess they were pretty close. I mean, Jenny was kind of a jerk at the beginning of the serial to Barbara and Susan.
Yeah.
She's
It was
not good
explained that someone she knew got turned into a Robo-Man.
Yeah.
I forget who. I don't know. It would have been interesting. Okay, well, I'll talk about that later because we're not there yet.
Yeah, so continue with Barbara and Jenny. They steal this fire truck, I guess.
Some sort of large truck.
And Barbara, just serial killer. They're driving along the road and they're expecting to have to jump out at any moment when the Dalek show up. Then there's like a Dalek roadblock and there's just 4 Daleks in the road. And Barbara just runs one of them over and just kills him.
51. Random Dalek.
Just Barbara, cold-blooded killer.
Yeah, first the Morphos and now this Dalek.
But then there's a flying saucer which is going to destroy the fire truck, so they stop and jump out, and then the fire truck gets blown up.
I mean, that was kind of weird because they were talking about how they'd have to jump out of the moving truck, but then they just stopped it and had time to get out, so I was like, okay. But they're trying to get to the mine to reunite with the Doctor to get his notes. So they're going through this...
Barbara assumes the Doctor's going to go to the mine.
Yeah. So they're going through this forest, and they come across this house. Right. This is actually way later in the serial. We're just explaining it this way.
So we don't get confused when we're watching it.
They come across this house inhabited by an old woman and, I guess, another woman, possibly her daughter, possibly...
The credits just say the woman in the house.
And they tell them they're trying to get to the mine. They're like, no one ever escapes from the mine. You can't go there. And Barbara and Jenny reveal that they're part of the resistance movement. Right. But it turns out the two women have been working for the Daleks, creating clothes for the slaves and stuff. So they sell them out. They rat them out.
I mean, Barbara gives them food in exchange for, like, shelter, but then the old woman sends the less old woman, but still old woman, out to get a Dalek, and then they can just capture Barbara and what's her name. And then that's how they end up at the mine. Jenny.
Yes. So, the Doctor...
Yeah, the Doctor and Susan.
At this point, are with David and...
And Tyler shows up. He's, like, going on his own, and then...
Yeah, so...
No, that's not Tyler, is it? Because the guy who showed up and then joined David then went on his own and then got killed by a Dalek right after that.
Oh, okay.
Tyler shows up in the sewer.
Yeah, he shows up when they are fighting the Robomen, or just before that.
Yeah, so that was some other guy, I guess. Did we count him in the death count?
Must have. Wait.
No, we didn't. We didn't put that random guy who runs away from David and them. Or is he under the 9 people who randomly died?
Did he get killed before Dortmund?
Oh,
God.
Jeez. Oh, jeez.
To the wiki. This was like episode...
There's the streets of London episode.
Yeah. There's a little pick on the wiki.
We forgot the part where Dortmund explains, I guess, the Dalek casing is made of Dalekinium, which is, like, impenetrable, which is why Dortmund designed the acid bomb. It's before that. Barbara's shot Jenny make her escape. No, it's before that. I think it's before Dortmund. So they were going to the Civic Transport Museum. That was the second location they were going to. Craddock. No, Craddock. Craddock was one of the... Craddock was that random Robo Man, so we can add his name to the list, but here's a pencil.
Okay. Last minute editing.
Very sketchy death count for this episode. Oh, here we go. Here.
No, we accidentally called Craddock... Was it Ashton?
Ashton was the guy who got killed by the Slither.
Okay. So...
Here we go. Here, Baker dies first. The random guy who showed up was Baker. He was the guy who went off on his own, and then he ended up getting killed by a Dalek before Dortmund.
Okay,
we might have included him in this random count then if he died before Dortmund, because we have Dortmund as the first named character to die.
We probably did then.
You want to add his name? His name's Baker. Very sketchy list.
Yes.
Okay, so Doctor, Susan, David, Baker. Baker goes off on his own, dies.
Now they're in a sewer.
No,
full of alligators.
The whole firebombing part. The Daleks are going to firebomb London because of the attack on the saucer. So they want to get rid of everyone in London. So they're going to firebomb London. Then, like, some Robomen come and put a firebomb by the Doctor trio. And then, like, David disarms it by using the acid from one of the bombs to burn
through just corrodes it.
And he stops the bomb. And then David and Susan decide to go into the sewer to try find a way... Well, there's that whole scene with Susan telling the Doctor that David thinks they should go north, and then the Doctor saying, no, we should get back to the TARDIS. But then David comes and asks the Doctor where he thinks they should go since he's older, and he's like, maybe we should go north.
And Susan's like, good idea, Doctor. Good thing you had it. And the Doctor was like, yes. No. He's been saying a lot more. Like, before he just said it once in a while. Now he says it all the time. But they wind up in the sewer, just full of alligators. Yeah,
the Doctor's still up above. His legs are, like, paralyzed from the robotization process or whatever.
So they go on this miraculous adventure through the sewers.
They find Tyler.
And they kill a couple of Robomen.
That was also a funny scene.
Yeah, because it was, I guess, Tyler, David, and Susan fighting off the two
Well,
Robomen.
first it was Tyler fighting one, and David was fighting the other. But then Susan came and helped David.
And the doctor is just kind of standing there surveying things, and all of a sudden he starts hitting one of the Robomen with his cane.
Well, it wasn't a cane; it was just a stick they had found him since he left his cane in the TARDIS.
Yeah.
He just starts hitting the Robomen. So they kill 2 Robomen there.
Yes, death count is now... Oh god. It's so convoluted on the actual piece of paper.
You would just say it at the end.
Alright.
Okay. So, they come out of the sewer... somewhere.
Like, outside the mine.
Yeah.
And they're, like, surveying the mine, and the doctor is like, there must be a reason why the Daleks invaded Earth, and it has to do with the mine.
Yeah, because the doctor thinks that the mine is the center of their operation. Which it is.
And-
Spoiler.
And, so the doctor has this whole hypothesis, but he can't figure out what they're trying to do at the mine.
And
since
then,
he hasn't been to the mine.
that scene ends with Susan going, "It's getting cold, Doctor," and trying to give him some food.
And it cuts to Ian, which is really weird. And that was the whole, the implied romance between David and Susan had,
Started there, I guess.
started not being as implied there.
Got pretty oblique.
Yes.
Okay,
So
anyway.
that's how they wind up at the mine. Ian. Where did we leave off with Ian?
Ian is hiding in the saucer, and then he comes out of hiding, and there's a Roboman there, and then Larry kills the Roboman, and they dispose of his body by chucking him down the chute. The chute. Like, that guy's name was Craddock. He's that random Robo.
It's one of these.
To put that one that we put after Dortmund, but actually dies before Dortmund.
Okay. Craddock. Looks good to me.
Okay, so they dispose of Craddock, and then they figure they're probably being taken to the mine, so they get back in hiding so that they don't get caught until the saucer lands.
And they they get to the mine, and Larry, I guess, knows a guy who knows a guy.
Well, Larry's trying to get his brother out of
Yeah.
the mine, and they meet this. Well, they happen to meet this guy who's like part of a patrol or something.
Yeah.
And he tries to convince the Robo-Men that, like, these guys are helping him. And he's like, no. The Robo-Men tells him to take Ian and Larry to join work detail.
And they wind up with this super corrupt guy manipulating the system of the slave.
Ashton
Yeah.
smuggling in food for the prisoners.
For a price.
And Ian... Well, the reason Ian and Larry want to meet him because they heard that he can get people out of the prison, but they don't have anything to pay him with. And then this thing called the Slither
It's like some genetically modified thing. Just, we didn't even know what it was.
It was there. It was a thing.
It's like a monster that
Slithers.
slithers. It doesn't really slither, though.
True.
So that
It, like, kills Ashton.
yeah,
Or at least we assume it killed Ashton off
yeah,
screen.
you hear his screams of agony off screen.
And then...
Ian and Larry run away.
Yeah, so
Into
that's
this-
how they ended up.
Yeah, they dive into this cart elevator thing. It's like a dumbbell sort of, but
And it
not.
goes down.
And now they're all at the mine. And I actually really liked how they all got split up and then reconvened at the mine. Thought that was pretty
They could have
interesting.
done it better cinematographically.
And
the
not,
cutting was
yeah,
really...
the cutting was in weird places. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of liked the concept.
Yeah. They did it better than they've done before.
Yeah.
But still, those cuts. It's getting cold. So they're all at the mine now.
So now I think it would be a good time to go back to Barbara
Right.
because
Barbara's doing a thing
they wind up
on work detail
yeah.
in the mine that Ian happens to be in.
Yeah. Ian and Larry infiltrate
Larry.
the work detail because they...
And
Oh
then
god,
Larry,
we're skipping around now.
Larry ends up...
Okay, let's actually just explain this in order now because I think it'll be easier in order.
We're trying to.
So, So Larry and Ian wind up at the work detail because
And Larry's injured his kneecap jumping out of the elevator thing.
so they wind up in some sort of line formation work detail party thing, and Larry sees Phil, his brother, who's been turned into a Robo-Man.
And Larry buys Ian some time to escape because Phil doesn't recognize him, so he lunges at Phil, and Phil shoots him, and then he strangles
like 7
Phil
times.
to death.
He shoots him like 7 times point blank.
And then he somehow still has the strength to strangle Phil.
Yep.
So both Larry and Phil die.
Yeah. And during that scene, Larry was like, "Don't you remember me, Phil? I'm your brother. Don't you remember your wife, Angela?" And I was like, okay. What I thought would have been interesting is if Phil was Jenny's husband. Because you know how she had a family member who was turned into a Robo-Man?
Yeah.
I thought that would have been pretty interesting, but they didn't go for that.
Would have sucked for Jenny to find out that one of her friends in the resistance movement just killed her husband.
Yeah, that would have sucked.
So anyway, Ian is now like hiding in the mines, trying to stay away from the Daleks, and he sees Barbara and Susan.
No, Barbara and
Jenny. And he also sees the guy from earlier who tried to help them but failed.
Yeah.
Tried to help him and Larry. And he tells that guy to tell Barbara and Jenny that he's there. But Barbara and Jenny have their own plan.
Which is to bribe the Daleks with information.
Regarding a revolt of some sort?
Yeah. Barbara pulls out the papers, pulls out Dortmund's notes, and says, "I have papers regarding this bomb and the resistance movement. I need to speak to someone in charge." And the Dalek's like, "Okay, I will take you to the Black Dalek," who's, I guess, the guy in charge who just hardware modded himself.
I liked the Dalek who looked like he gotten a paint job and had each of his stripes was a different color. Okay, so now something in my throat. Barbara and Jenny end up at the Black Dalek, and Ian is trying to hide from the Daleks and ends up getting inside this like bomb casing.
Yeah.
Which turns out to be the bomb that the Daleks are going to use to blow through the crust to get to the core.
Demagnetize the Earth and pilot it as a giant spaceship.
Why
that
not?
was their plan all along.
Yes. Why not?
So, naturally, the Doctor and friends have to stop them. So...
Well, okay, so now Ian has to escape the bomb casing, and episode 5 ends with Ian in the bomb casing, and the bomb going down to be detonated.
Yeah.
Then Ian just pulls some random wires, and he gets out.
Yeah, the bomb stops in the shaft, and Ian's like, pro, so he gets out.
And he starts climbing down this rope, and the Dalek goes, stop, what are you doing? And then destroys the rope, and then Ian just slides all the way to the bottom.
And at that point, Barbara and Jenny are with the Black Dalek.
Right.
And Barbara, they have the plan to, because they see this device, which is what the Daleks use to order the Robomen. So they're like, if we can just get to that device, we can cause a revolt, telling the Robomen to turn against the Daleks. So I guess Barbara tries to buy some time by telling the Daleks / Black Dalek what the resistance movement's plan is.
History teacher OP.
Yeah, Barbara is actually pretty pro in this scene.
She references a whole bunch of historical events while trying to construct this revolt.
Yeah.
The Boston Tea Party, the Indian Massacre, General Lee of the Civil War.
So, but it doesn't work.
Cross the mountains into Carthage.
The Daleks are like, yo, what are you doing, Barbara?
And then they just capture Barbara and Jenny, tie them to the wall, like, okay, the bomb will exterminate them. This is the first time the Daleks say exterminate.
And the neck cuffs they're wearing are pretty weird. They're chained to the wall, but their hands and legs are free. They're just pinned down by their necks. thought that was pretty
Yeah,
strange.
that'll become interesting later.
Yeah.
Plot hole with that later. So, Ian now has found like this door at the bottom of the shaft, and he
goes through it, props it open.
sort of props it open, but also puts that there to like stop the bomb when it comes down. So the Daleks fix the bomb and then drop it down. Then it gets jammed by Ian's log, but the Daleks don't know that. And then the Doctor has this brilliant plan to have Susan and David go use the acid bombs to sever, like, the thing that's powering all the Daleks.
And they do.
And
mass chaos.
well, first the Doctor and Tyler get inside and get to the control room, and they find Barbara.
Yeah.
And Barbara's like, Doctor! And then
So
right before that, Jenny's like, this neck thing, I can't get it off. And then the Doctor comes in, gets Barbara out of her neck thing, and then they go over to the right and start talking, and then Jenny just shows up, but nobody took her out of her neck brace.
Guess they were able to get out all along. They just didn't. No, but yeah, that was kind of a major thing.
And then a Dalek is coming towards the room, and the Doctor, super confident in Susan, just stands there looking at it. And then it blows up. Because they severed the power just in time.
And before that, when the Doctor and Tyler are trying to infiltrate, there's this whole scene where, the line of Daleks coming out of the room, and the Doctor and Tyler are standing right there. The Daleks can't see them.
But the final Dalek in the procession, instead, his eye isn't looking straight, it's like looking to its left, which means when it came through the door, it looked straight at the Doctor, and then just kept going.
He's like, everything good here, just keep moving. No, but a lot of the luck-based things that everyone pulled off in this serial were based on the Daleks' crappy eyesight.
Who knew only having one eye would suck?
Well, I think everyone knew that only having one eye would suck.
Okay, so Barbara decides to do their plan to
turn
talk to the Robo-Man.
Yeah, so she goes up to the thingy and is like, Robo-Man, turn against the Daleks. And the Doctor's like, no, you're doing it wrong.
But he didn't say that. He just like, here. Terminate all Daleks.
Kill the Daleks.
Doctor, pro-Dalek impersonator.
And then you see another mass chaos scene.
Where all the prisoners and Robo-Men just attacking Daleks.
Yeah.
One of them they just pick one up and carry it around for a while.
Another guy just beats a Dalek to death with a rock. So a couple more Daleks die on screen. And
then Ian shows up and he's like, oh yeah, all the Robo-Men just turned on the Daleks, so I figured it was your doing, so I came here. They're like, yay, we're all reunited.
And then
but
the
let's
bomb.
be honest, designing a system that could control the Robo-Men that was voice activated, not a good plan.
Yeah, I didn't think it was voice activated until they were like, look, it's the machine that's controlling the Robo-Man. I thought it was like some sort of mind control. Well, I guess it was, but like not in that way. But then the bomb goes off. And stuff blows up.
And then lava.
Yeah, there's all the... I guess they use these stock explosion footage things. They're all different. It looks a little bit weird. But at the end, everyone's all reunited, standing on this hill outside the mine as they watch things blow up.
And then it cuts to the TARDIS.
Yes.
Well, outside the TARDIS. They've moved the debris that fell in the way, blocking them from using it earlier, which we forgot to mention.
Yeah.
Because they always have to incapacitate the TARDIS in every story.
So, the Doctor
is talking to Susan. And
yeah.
It's like, oh, I can mend your shoe for you. And he seems a little depressed.
Yeah. At that point, I bet he knows Susan's going to stay. And I guess he wanted to take her shoe as a memento of her.
But he has her whole wardrobe.
Yeah.
She lived on the TARDIS.
Yeah, but I don't know.
So, like, Ian and Barbara are saying their goodbyes to whoever's left.
Yeah, whoever's left after all the massacring.
And then the Doctor tells Tyler to build a new future and to rebuild London. And he says, but I can't. And then Big Ben chimes in the background. And the Doctor's like, only the beginning. And then... he moves over to the TARDIS, and then Susan walks over to David. Like, starts talking to David.
Yeah.
Then the Doctor goes into the TARDIS.
Yeah. And, David wants Susan to stay.
And Susan doesn't want David to make her decide between staying with David and staying with her grandfather, the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
So she tries to run back to the TARDIS, but...
The Doctor closes the doors on her.
The Doctor's like, yo, I locked you out, Susan, bye. And then he leaves. No. He actually makes us...
He double locked the door.
But he tells Susan that it would be better for her to stay in a single time period. And he makes the speech that we saw a couple weeks ago when we watched Adventure in Space and Time, which I liked. You want to read it?
No, you read it.
You read it.
Why?
I don't know.
Well,
we'll alternate every word.
No, that's a bad idea. Well, the Doctor says, all of these years I've been taking care of you. You in return have been taking care of me. And then Susan says, no, I belong with you. And then Doctor says, not any longer, Susan. You're still my grandchild and always will be, but now you're a woman too. And he says, I want you to belong somewhere, to have roots of your own. With David, you'll be able to find these roots and live normally like any woman should do. And then he says, believe me, my dear, your future lies with David and not with a silly old buffer like me. One day I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine. Goodbye, Susan. Goodbye, my dear. And then...
And they never see each other again.
No, they do.
No, they do once.
No, a couple times.
Oh.
And then Susan's kind of... She, like, tries to feel the TARDIS, but it's gone.
Yeah.
And this is the first time the TARDIS has made the noise in all of Season 2. This it didn't in Planet of the Giants, and we didn't mention that. And then Susan says, he knew you could never leave him.
No, David says that.
Yeah, David. David.
So yeah, I liked that scene. I thought it was actually going to be cheesy, the way they were to write Susan out, but it actually ended up being pretty good. I liked it.
Well, they had to make it good. It's the first time they're writing out a companion.
Yeah. They didn't have to make it good. They could have just been like, Susan, you're staying.
They could have just killed her off. She could have failed to escape the mine, and they could have just blown her up.
But yeah, it was good.
And then there was sad organ music.
Yeah.
There was a lot of organ music in this serial.
And the drum solo. Majestic drum solo.
Perfect.
But Susan walks off with David, and that's the end of the
end of Susan. Susan will be back in The Five Doctors and an audio adventure with the Eighth Doctor. Can you imagine how awkward that would be? Hey, I'm your grandfather. I changed a lot. 7 times, actually.
But yeah, I liked this serial.
It's pretty good.
Overall. Not my favorite, not better than Sensorites. But
really?
Still.
You didn't think it was better than Sensorites?
No.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so the death count ended at 59 by our best counts.
Yes. 59 with 41 through 49 being Robomen / random humans, including Baker. 50 being Dortmund. I spelled it wrong on the list, that's why I didn't know what his name was. And 53 is the Dalek that Barbara ran over. 51. It's 53 on the... You know what? We'll have it on the site.
We'll put it on the site. Be fine. It's okay. This entire list looks pretty sketchy, to be honest.
It does. I don't know. What else did you like in this serial? Oh, I wanted to talk about... I thought they did some experimental camera angles in this serial.
Yeah.
Which I actually liked.
Henry Martin using his directorial powers.
Up until now, in both seasons 2 and 1. The camera angles have been pretty static, just shots that include everyone. I mean, they worked. I didn't find any fault with them. But I thought this serial included some different and unique camera angles. Not unique, but just
Different.
never before seen in the show.
Except in the animated episodes, of course.
Yeah. Which was just not...
Yeah, the animated
fun.
episodes did them weirdly. Because it was animated.
Yeah.
It just looked weird.
But, I mean, did you notice that?
I did.
Yeah.
Pointed out a couple of times.
Yeah.
They did a lot of zooming in and moving around with the camera. A lot of the other camera angles in season 1 and 2 were static.
Or just panning left and right. Noticeable, the running through the streets of London scene was pretty noticeable with the different camera angles they did.
Yeah.
Imagine if it was just panning like one direction the entire time with those drums playing. Just Barbara running. And then in the end when they zoomed in on Susan's TARDIS key.
Yeah.
It was pretty sad. Apparently Carol Ann Ford actually cried.
It's not surprising,
Yeah.
considering you're leaving a role you've worked on for basically a year and a half continuously at this point.
Yeah. And
the doctor William Hartnell would cry later.
Yeah.
He's leaving.
Yeah, as we know, he takes the original companions leaving pretty hard. Takes the transition into new companions and new staff pretty badly, which is understandable.
Yeah.
I probably would too.
I think we all would, unless you were callous and had no feelings.
Unless you were Takana.
Didn't care. Takana. Always Takana. Let's do a retrospective on Susan. Now that we'll never be able to talk about her again.
Until
the 5 Doctors a year and a half down the line.
Or unless we listen to that audio thing.
Forever from now.
Yes, forever.
We'd have to watch that. We'd have to listen to that after the TV movie starring the 8th Doctor to understand anything.
Yes. But a retrospective on Susan.
She started usefully.
She started useful.
And
got less useful as Barbara got more
was
useful.
Proportional.
Yeah.
Grew off it in things.
Personally, I don't think that in this serial she did too much, but I still liked her in this serial.
She did enough to be useful.
Yeah. That's another thing in this serial. Pretty much everyone did stuff, and they also got the serial specific characters to do things too.
Yeah.
Which I liked. But Susan, I guess, did some things. I mean, as far as Susan went in this serial, it was more about her reasons for wanting to stay in this era.
Yeah. Well, I felt like this was a good serial to send her off on since, like, all the companions did something. It was kind of like a tribute to all of their adventures together.
Yeah, that's true.
Facing their ultimate adversary.
Yeah, and the fact that they get split up and then reconvene for one final,
Goodbye.
But yeah, Susan, overall...
Good companion.
Yeah, I liked her.
Good character. In my opinion, based on the companions that I've seen written out, she had one of the better ways to go out. She's going to go out and have a good life.
Oh,
compared to the 2 endings that I've seen of 3 companions technically, they we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. But if you remember back in season 1, there were a couple times that referenced Susan wanting to stay in one time period rather than travel around with the Doctor anymore, and I felt that was a good, character development type of thing, but at the same time, they didn't really... They touched upon it a few times, but it wasn't like a continuous thing.
Right.
I don't know if that would have made it better or worse, actually, if it was a continual thing that was mentioned in every
If it
Not
had been a
every
continual thing, then you would have been more expecting of Susan to go out, and it wouldn't have had so much of an impact.
That is
and it would have,
true.
like, taken away from the scene where the Doctor tells her that he knows that she wants to stay in one time period, and that's why he's letting her go.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't know Susan was getting written out in the final episode, I wouldn't have seen it coming at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the implied romance,
I mean, even right up to the point where the Doctor closed the doors, that's the first time you would realize,
Yeah.
oh,
Susan,
she's done.
Yep. Which it must have come as a surprise to people who were actually watching this back in the 60s.
Especially since in the 60s they didn't have all the news stories like we have now that spoil everything.
Yeah.
3 months before the season ends, hey, look, Peter Capaldi's the 12th Doctor, guys. Thanks. Now I guess we know Matt Smith's done.
Yeah. And plus, this was the first companion getting written out. Because if you were watching this back in the 60s, it's not like you would have known that the series would have continued with companions getting written out and the Doctor regenerating. I mean, you wouldn't have seen any of that coming.
Yeah. I mean, you
Unless
would have
you
at some point. Once it got to second, third Doctor, you would have seen all these things coming.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first regeneration probably came as a pretty big surprise that they would do that.
Speaking of the first regeneration, the director who directed that episode actually died this past Thursday.
Oh, wow.
At the age of 86.
Huh. Well.
He had Alzheimer's.
Well, good job.
We're not there yet, but I'm assuming we'll be saying that when we get there. Good job. Yeah, I'm hoping all the rest of the First Doctor's companions get sent off in a good way like Susan did.
Why do you say that?
I don't want any of them to be, like, killed off or something.
I
don't want them to kill off Ian or something.
I doubt they'd kill off Ian and Barbara.
You'll say that and we'll get there, and the episode will end. They'll be, like, about to get on the TARDIS, and the Doctor will be like, oh, yes, let's go on another adventure. Then some gunshots will just ring out, and Ian and Barbara will just collapse, and the Doctor will break down crying. And then the serial will end.
That's terrible. That would be the worst way to write them out.
No. You haven't seen Donna Noble yet.
Is she
They don't kill her off, but they might as well have.
But does it pertain to the actual story, or just, by the way, she's dead now?
It pertains to the story, but it's really... It sucks.
Okay. I still think, bam, random gunshots never explained from random... Just... No.
I think the 7th Doctor dies by a random shootout in San Francisco. But I don't know that for sure. When we get to the TV movie, we'll find out. I'm pretty sure that's what happens.
Yes. Well, they did kill characters at their whim in this serial. Like, named main characters just died.
So, well, this doesn't really relate to Doctor Who, but I thought it was interesting. One of my teachers supposedly claims to have worked on British television, and she says in the UK, they're, like, super against violence, so they're not allowed to show gunshots on screen. But I noticed that in this serial, we actually saw the gun being fired on screen.
No, they're not, I'm pretty sure this is what it is, but they're not allowed to show the gun and the wound, like, in the same screen. Like, you can't show someone shooting someone and then they fall down and die because of the wound. You can show the gun being fired and the person falling down, but not, like, the wound or the blood or the gore. I'm pretty sure.
Alright.
I don't know how I know that.
I just thought that was interesting.
Something interesting for you to look up if you want, or us to look up.
Talk about next week.
Yes.
We probably won't.
Yeah,
we'll probably forget.
Probably won't.
We'll probably forget.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to say about this serial?
No, I think we said everything.
Yeah.
There's a lot more incidental music in this serial that I noticed than before.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the drums in the London scene.
Yeah. I think you just tend to, not you in particular, but I think one just tends to notice it more when when it's just the music and no dialogue.
Yeah,
As with the
that's true. But
running scene and Susan at the end when it was just that music and her walking away. But yeah, that's
that's the Dalek
that.
Invasion of Earth.
Susan's final serial. Next week we'll be watching Thing.
Pretty sure it's called The Rescue. It is called The Rescue.
The Rescue.
The rescue of what? I don't know.
What is that?
I don't know.
We're on the wiki. The first image.
Guess we'll find out. It says it's the first story to have a new regular cast member, so maybe the Doctor's getting a new companion? I don't know.
Who knows?
Oh yeah, there was that scene where Tyler called the
yeah.
Doctor Doc, and the Doctor says, no, don't call me Doc. I prefer Doctor. Just relevant.
Actually, I found that pretty interesting, actually. I mean, it was just kind of a side thing, but I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. It's the Doctor.
I mean, it is his name. Or at least he claims it's his name. The Doctor. Doctor Who. Doctor Who.
Okay, so email us.
The Doctor at decorativevegetable.com. We didn't get any emails this week again.
So email us.
We've entered the double digits of episode numbers, if you're not counting that special we put out about Adventure in Space and Time. Which we're not. We're just going to count that separately. And that'll be a thing.
Yes.
So email us. The death count will be on the website since we apparently really lame at following deaths. Or at least writing it down in list format. And that wraps that up, I think.
The end.